Okay, we're going to be doing some wiring termination training here with Tyler. And Tyler's going to discuss what tools are needed, and he's also going to discuss good and bad practices. Tyler, what tools are needed to do proper terminations?
Trim screwdriver. Wire strippers.
Tell me about the wire strippers. Do they need to be? Can they be any size wire strippers, or do we need to get?
Probably need to get the proper ones.
Proper ones, meaning
18 gauge and 22 gauge.
just to be able to strip the smaller wires.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your trim screwdriver. What makes it more effective when you are terminating panels?
It's got this top piece right here that swivels.
Right.
So I can twist it like that.
Yep.
Easily.
Okay.
I'll dig a hole in my hand.
Okay. So when we're going to begin to terminate a panel, we got to worry about the wire that comes into the panel, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when the wire comes into the panel,
worry about everything. Length of the wire, wires labeled. Yeah, you always want to leave enough slack for any future problems or changes.
Where would you put the slack wire? Would you roll it up inside of the conduit, or
slack in the conduit?
Or what if there's a gutter? Would
that would be better, like a wire panel on top.
Right.
For spare wire. Yeah.
Okay, Tyler. So you got a piece of wire that you're getting ready to strip back to get the terminations ready. What's the proper way to strip that wire back?
I'm gonna lightly score it right here on the jacket.
And why are you scoring that jacket? Is that a label?
Yes, this is the label that we're going to use to put on the wires after we strip them. So, break it here.
You lightly score it, and then you're going to break it over. And you're going to pull that last part off that has the jacket. Okay.
Like that.
And what do you do with that label? Do you just throw it on the ground, or do you save it?
With that label right there.
Where's that label used later?
It's used on our actual wires. The wires enclosed in the jacket inside the full jacket.
Okay.
And that'll be for use in the panel, so we can see what those wires are used for.
Okay.
So we have.
So let me get a close up here. You're stripping the wire, or you pulled the jacket off, and what is that shiny thing there that you're pulling on now?
This right here. That's going to be the shield, the full jacket, and we have our.
What's that?
It's our pull string to.
What is that used for?
It's to remove the jacket, the wire jacket.
Okay. So you just pull
like that.
You pull back on that, and it'll strip back the jacket even further.
That's right.
To expose more full.
That's right.
And wire. Okay, so you cut that excessive piece of jacket off, and now you still have that fuzzy string. That fuzzy string is a Kevlar string, and it's used to rip through that jacket. So how do you get rid of that?
We get rid of that. We're going to pull this down a little bit.
So you're pulling it back.
Pulling down the wire jacket.
Pulling down the wire jacket to expose it.
To expose a little more.
Okay, and then you cut it off.
That's right there.
And then what about the foil jacket? Do you leave all that on there, or do you take that off as well?
Do not. The foil jacket, you always take off the foil jacket.
Okay, so you're taking off the foil jacket.
So we're going to twist it up here. So we'll get it as close as we can.
Okay. If you're twisting it up, does that make it cut better?
Yep. Get a closer cut.
Okay. So before you got the drain wire there, do you leave the drain wire always, or when do you cut that off, or do you cut it off?
You leave it when you're using it in the panel.
Okay.
So when you are going to ground this wire.
So when you need to ground the input or the output?
Yep.
Okay.
So do you want to cut it off or leave it?
For this demonstration, go ahead and cut it off.
Okay. So we'll cut it off there at the jacket.
Okay. Okay, so you got a little bit of that foil showing. What do you do to get that back? Is that why you pulled it back earlier?
Yep. I'm going to pull it up now.
Okay, so when you slide your fingers back over that,
yep,
it covers that foil. Okay, looks good. Now, so what we should have looked at, actually, pull that back just real quick where you made that cut. Do we have any cuts on the wire? What is that why we use the pull string?
Yes. If you have trouble cutting the wire, then you need to use a pull string.
Okay. So what's one of the problems that we find in the field when we don't do that? What happens to the to those wires that you have in your hand?
So if you nick the wire, any of these wires inside of the full jacket, they can short to each other, or if you just nick even just one, it'll short to the full jacket or our shield.
Okay.
Here.
And that could cause a transformer to pop, or it could...
Or it could even take down a whole network of controllers if it's the right situation, yeah.
Okay. So you're pulling that back.
up.
So all those wires were good. You're pulling the jacket back up to hide the foil. And the reason why we're trying to hide that foil is so that doesn't short out
on anything else inside the panel.
Okay. So now that you have that done, what's the proper termination length then on when you want to strip back the ends of these wires?
You mean the size?
On these wires here, are you gonna strip those with your stripper, or are you gonna use a pocket knife, or what do you use?
Use the 18 gauge spot on the strippers and go back maybe about that far. There. And you want just enough to where it gets a good connection, but not too much to where they can short out, like we'll show you in a little bit.
One thing you also have to do, Tyler, is you have that label laying. When's the best time to put that label on?
Right now, after you have all your wires ready to go, then you go back and get your label that you cut off earlier. You're going to cut it down and leave it on the jacket.
So you take that label that we use for when they used to pull the wire,
yep,
and we use that tag and we slide it back over the wires.
That's it.
Sometimes this works better if you probably
do it before you strip the wire.
Do it before it strip it. Yep. Okay.
So now we can see whatever this label would say would be right next to the controller. Input or output.
So when we go to terminate it on this controller here, from what I see, we don't want to end up with a situation like this, probably, Tyler, where the wire extends too far.
Because these could easily short out between those two.
Okay, so if somebody tugged on the wire, those two could possibly touch together, and then we'd have 24 volts shorting out. Okay, so when you go to terminate, what do we want to make sure that we do?
We want to make sure that you get the wire all the way in to where there's none exposed. Maybe you could maybe see a little bit, but not to where it would go past this line right here. You don't want it hanging out over this line right here.
Okay.
So this would be our common.
Okay. What do you do after you tighten that under the screw?
You pull on it.
You pull on it to make sure it's snug under the connection.
So it's not going to come out, or if it does come out a little bit, you'll know that you need to cut it down or re-screw it in there.
Right. Okay.
So, and you always want to check. Let me screw this.
Okay.
Like that. And you always want to check and make sure that there's not a frayed piece of this wire coming across from, say, the white to the black or the black to the white, so where it would short them out either.
We want to prevent frays.
Yep.
Okay.
I guess that's it.
Okay. So then you take your wire and you tuck it back. We're not going to hook the red wire up, but you take your wire and you tuck it back into the panduit. And you also adjust your label.
Yep.
Okay.
Put this here.
So that's a spare wire. We don't need it just yet. What would we normally do with a wire that we stick into the panduit?
We would cut it. We wouldn't leave it stripped. Just cut it. Wire nut it.
Cut it and put a wire nut on it, huh?
Yep.
Okay. And then we would tuck it back into the panduit.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe some electrical tape.
No electrical tape.
No.